Is artificial intelligence killing photography? We've been seeing so many news pieces about what artificial intelligence can do, that it can make beautiful pictures just by writing a few words, that it might take our jobs away from us. Tony and I are going to look at what we experienced when using AI photography, what we think it's capable of, if your job is safe, and how we think it will eventually be used in the future.
Yeah, we dig deeper than the headlines. We actually test it out. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Squarespace.
Whether you want your own website, store, or portfolio, you can make it happen with Squarespace. It's so easy to do. If you can drag and drop your pictures, you can make it happen in a few minutes. Go to squarespace.com/Chelsea, use the coupon code Chelsea, and you'll get 10% off. Thanks, Squarespace. Let's get right into it, Tony, because there's a lot of hype. Is it real?
I thought all the AI images I generated were garbage. I thought it was absolutely awful. I would not recommend it to anyone for fun or profit.
What? I thought it was fun.
You're right. It's fun. You know what? When I think back to it, I've spent a couple of days playing with AI, and I didn't need to, but I just got into it and I was having fun. So it's fun. You're right.
I used Dolly, which I used a few different ones, but that was the one where I got the best results. You go to the website, you type in a description of what you want, a guy wearing a hat, and then it generates an image. You can also upload your own image and then add AI to it and see what it replicates. And that wasn't as fun and the results weren't as good. The one with completely generated images, I made about 100 pictures and I liked 2. So, and that was over a few hours. So it's not the type of thing where you just type in a sentence and you get this perfect image. You end up kind of altering it and tweaking it and adding words and subtracting words. So it's a process, but it didn't work so well and so easily that I thought, oh no, we're all doomed, we're done, this is the greatest thing. Like when I tried to make it photorealistic, it looked a little creepy and it generated painterly pictures better, but still they were a little bit off.
Yeah, I found the better quality images I put in, the better quality images I got out. So Sensa AI is an iPhone app that makes these AI images extremely accessible. It's very easy to use. And you basically work off of portraits of either pets or people. And when I put pictures of our new puppy Kit in, they turned out pretty cool. And I shared them and I was like having fun. I thought, these are really cool. She looks like a little space dog.
Yeah.
When I put iPhone pictures of you in there, they turned out awful.
I thought I was unrecognizable. They didn't look like me at all.
They didn't. And I thought, okay, but I actually hate iPhone portraits. So maybe it's a garbage in, garbage out situation. Yeah. So I put in images of you, like professional portraits we've taken of you, and those turned out much better. Still not, there were a couple where it was you. Yeah. A couple out of 100 images that I generated. Several were definitely you. Many of them resembled you, and most of them were just like, I don't know who that is. I don't recognize that person.
I'll say you showed me those pictures of myself, and me being the person that would probably be most interested in them, I was like, that's neat. I didn't feel it represented me. I didn't share them. I wouldn't share them. So I would rather just have a really good picture of me taken than have some AI generated kind of cheesy portrait, honestly.
So maybe it's not quite yet putting all photographers out of business, but do you think it could help photographers?
Yeah, that was the first thing that I thought. So when I was generating these images and some of them were somewhat photorealistic, first of all, I started using it as a proof of concept. What if I took a picture like this and I typed in various things that I wanted to see what I might plan a photo shoot to be based on imagined final results. And I kind of do that already with a sketchbook, but my drawing skills are extremely limited. So it was kind of neat to get an idea of what colors I might use or what composition. And I also thought it could be used in a really cool way if you took a picture and then wanted to add a surreal background around a picture. So I was thinking of ways I could use it to either plan photography or improve photography, but not replace it.
I can see in the future AI might actually help photographers once these tools evolve a little bit more. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's there today, though.
But so we feel that way, but the intention from these companies is to replace us as photographers because they don't want to pay us. They don't want to pay for our time or our pictures, and so they're trying to just generate completely new pictures instead of using our services. And one of the places doing that is a stock photography site called Shutterstock.
You and I started our career together as stock photographers.
Yeah.
We took stock images, which is some basic image that you then can sell to 1,000 people. And our images ended up on cereal boxes and books and album covers and billboards all over the world. And we got paid anywhere from a quarter to like $5 or $10, depending on how the image was being used. But we made some money off of that.
Yeah.
Shutterstock, one of the biggest agencies, is now allowing consumers, usually designers, to generate images using AI instead of buying an image.
Right.
And this feels terrible to me as somebody who makes some money from stock photography. First and foremost, they use our images, all of our images, to create these AI images. I also find it annoying that Shutterstock is putting in headlines that this is their ethical AI. I've seen it covered so many places without anybody questioning it. You see the same headlines repeated. You can opt out and they are going to be paying the photographers. But I dug into the fine print as a creator on Shutterstock, and first of all, you can opt out. They said in the future they'll give you the option to opt out. But the images that are there now, I did not get the option to opt out.
No, you automatically are opted in if you have images on Shutterstock, and you will be able to opt out in the future, no set date.
Yeah, because we have AI, but it's going to take us a couple of years to figure out how to make a checkbox. But also, if they opt people in by default, 95% of people will accept that default without even being aware. And so they're still going to have sufficient images to create an AI base that will put you out of work. So you lose work regardless of whether you opt in or out.
Yeah, they also say they're going to pay the photographers, but they don't say how much or when.
No, they said there's going to be a pool of money. Some portion of the profits that they make, they will distribute back to the photographers every 6 months, they said. But they have never done this. And they don't say what the portion of their profits is going to be. And if it's only every 6 months, you're definitely not going to make a living at it.
Well, you have to wonder what the pay structure will be as well. Will you get paid for your entire image, or are they going to calculate how much of your image was used in the AI photo and then give you 30% of 50 cents, which you would have originally made? I mean, they're really just splitting pennies now to pay people.
And they don't know the answers to this because they're still figuring it out. It's like the cart is before the horse. They're just pushing this product out and then they're like, we'll figure it out later.
The other problem is models will not see any of the profits. So the model gets paid at the shoot, and then they sign a consent form, a release, a model release. You can use these images and sell them, but they're not consenting to having their images diced up and repurposed and having their image, their likeness used in something that they don't even know about. So how are they going to get consent of the models and then pay them? They're not.
No, the models aren't going to make anything.
I can think of the applications that would be good to use for AI, how it could be helpful, but there's also malicious AI where they're using artificial intelligence to just cheat people.
This is absolutely awful. Watermarkremover.io. The name says it all. You feed it an image with a watermark, and it removes the watermark using artificial intelligence, and it works great.
Yeah, it's like people don't even want to pay a couple of dollars for our work anymore.
Right. So now you can bypass paying the photographer even that quarter we would have gotten from a stock agency because it'll just take out the Shutterstock watermark.
The other frustrating thing is they say it's free to use watermarkremover.io.
So generous.
For personal use, but if you are going to use it for something else, you can pay Watermark Remover IO, and then you can go beyond personal use. Just pay the photographer at that point.
Sure, it can take out the watermark from Shutterstock, but my real concern is so many personal photographers, school photographers, portrait photographers distribute the first digital images to the clients with heavy watermarks on them to stop them from using it so that they can actually sell high quality images and prints. Now people will just remove the watermark. So that entire method of previewing images to your clients is going to disappear. Either you have to accept that some portion of your clients are going to steal your images because anybody can Google this and find it, or you have to show them in person or charge them up front so they don't have any choice. But this is the predominant business model of school and portrait photographers right now, and it's ruined.
It's really rough. I think that we should petition to make Watermark Remover and remove this service from the internet. It seems like it should be illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get on that, one of you.
One way to make sure that your images are always beautiful, to distribute images to clients securely, is Squarespace. Squarespace allows photographers, videographers, or any type of business to set up a professional website. Start at squarespace.com/Chelsea. You get a free trial. You can choose a template. You can alter the design to personalize it, and then you go live with it. When you're ready to go live, the coupon code Chelsea will get you 10% off. Thank you, Squarespace.
Let's get into what AI can do for us in the future, how it's going to be practical. Let's talk about some of the pitfalls of AI now. And you have a really hot button topic that you want to talk about.
Well, I found this just trying to generate some pictures of you. I took pictures of you and put it into Sensa AI, which is the most accessible AI image generator I could find. And it applies 10 different styles, including things like fantasy, science fiction, and anime. And it did some disturbing things with your images. In the fantasy and sci-fi images, it made you white. You're half Puerto Rican.
Like not just my skin tone, but it actually changed my features to look not Puerto Rican.
I think it's because the fantasy world mostly took place in England, and science fiction actors historically have mostly been white. And so it learned that that was what fantasy and sci-fi images were supposed to look like. Like, it also put you in nice fantasy dresses and fantasy backgrounds, but the AI is not intelligent enough to understand the subtleties of your face needs to stay your face.
Yeah.
And previous fantasy images don't necessarily represent the race of the people starring in other fantasy images shouldn't be reflected in you.
You know all that
immersed
Puerto
into a
Rican
fantasy world.
sci-fi, all the Puerto Rican women being sci-fi characters.
But people don't really get upset if they become white. But if you become a different non-white race, people get very upset about this. And when I looked at the pictures rendered in the anime style, it made you distinctly Japanese.
Yeah, so I think the problem with this is that the artificial intelligence can only be as good as the people making it. And you and I think that I should not be pretending to be Japanese, but I'm sure there are many people in our audience who think it's silly and they don't agree. So how do you get people to agree on what's ethical for AI? It can only really be as good as the people creating it. And we've seen that with other AI too, like that Google chatbot that got really racist and they just had to pull the plug on it.
Yeah, or Microsoft chatbot.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was a chatbot where that happened. And AI inherently is supposed to teach itself by just consuming content, more input. Humans, I think, need to control it. And unfortunately, that means that humans are going to have to put a lot of work into designing parameters for these systems, saying you can do this, you can't do this. And that's going to slow down the growth of AI substantially. Because right now what we have is it's going to run into a lot of problems. It's going to cross a lot of boundaries.
I can think of some big problems that I don't even want to bring up on our podcast, but things could get really dicey. So they're going to have to make some choices and just lock some things down.
At the same time, I'm not eager for AI to be implemented anytime soon. I don't care if this takes 20 years or 50 years. So I'm somewhat comforted knowing that this will slow down the growth of AI.
It might. I mean, sometimes people just jump right into bad technology until they hit a point of failure. So we'll see what that is. Another thing I wanted to talk about is the huge hype around AI, because people are talking about this like it is definitely taking over. It is going to steal our jobs. It's so great. I see so many articles where many people don't even use it for themselves. They use the sample images provided by the AI company, which is a mistake, because when you go in and you start making them, you're going to see 90% of what it produces is not good. And so I can see how people would think that it's going to take off faster than it actually is. What is your take on that?
I like to use the Gartner hype cycle, and this applies to almost any new technology. Basically, you start out with a technology trigger, such as artificial intelligence image processing being invented. And then the media grabs onto this and starts publicizing it. We have a few companies that see there's interest in this, so they start rapidly putting together a proof of concept things and push it out in front of the public. And people get excited about this. And this brings you up to what the hype cycle calls the peak of inflated expectations, where we think this is going to be huge. But then after that, the technology sinks into the trough of disillusionment, when you figure out that this technology is not nearly as good as we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I love that it sounds like the hero's journey. Like, you round the peak of inflated expectations and fall into the pit of disillusionment. Like, it's
But then you climb out up the slope of enlightenment.
Yeah.
That's literally what it's called.
Yeah.
And then you make it onto the plateau of productivity, where the technology evens out, the growth is much slower, but it has matured to the point where it can actually be applied. We are nowhere near that point.
We're at this unrealistic expectation place, and we have to kind of realize that it has its limits until we can start using it in practical ways. And so we have ideas about what those practical applications might be. And I think that it's going to be used mostly with photography or used in just very specific applications. So I can see it being used for stock photography for renderings. I think it's going to be difficult for it to be really good with human faces right away because we have that uncanny valley thing where humans are just really good at discerning when a face just isn't right.
Yeah, I think they're years away from that based on all the AI faces I've seen.
But it's really cool for rendering a room or inanimate things where, it's not going to bump you if it's kind of off. I can also see it being used as a tool for photographers. So let's say you get done with a photo shoot, it's a family shoot, there's 10 people in the photo, and you're looking for one picture where everyone looks good, their eyes are open. It'd be cool if you could drag every photo into AI. It analyzes all the faces, make sure everyone looks as good as possible. All of the eyes are open. Maybe it even does some work and grabs the eyes from one photo, put it on another. Like, I could see how it could make a workflow better and be realistic.
And I spent a lot of time generating AI portraits.
Yeah.
And I didn't think any of them were shareable. But I can see a future where I could take a picture of myself in my pajamas and it could turn that into a LinkedIn profile of me in a suit and tie with, the city skyline behind me, that sort of I'm a professional person type of picture that everybody wants, but really you want to work from home in your pajamas.
Yeah, or what about, how we all have that one portrait of ourselves we like? Maybe it's the one professional portrait you got done. What if you put that into AI and it generates it to be your professional one, your dating profile version, your social media version, and kind of changes the background and the clothes?
Well, now you made me mad again, because if a professional photographer took that and you're repurposing it, that actually seems like you should owe the photographer some more money if that wasn't the original intention.
That's true, but it already happens. Have you ever had someone put filters on your picture?
Oh, yeah.
Or Facetune your picture?
No, you're right. It happens.
Anyway. It's already happening.
I think we will see some adoption of AI imagery. We will see more and more fantastical images created. But my experience with technology has always been whenever something new comes along, there's always an equal and opposite reaction to it. And we've already seen this because you had, back in the 80s, Photoshop became popular and every model was photoshopped ridiculously skinny to impossible standards. And then, when the 90s and 2000s came around, there was a reaction to that, where
Kendrick Lamar said, "I'm so sick and tired of that Photoshop." That actually did happen. People started posting in magazines, I think it was American Eagle, started posting completely unairbrushed photos with stretch marks and pimples and blemishes.
Right. What I would expect to see is continued adoption of the most authentic types of images, which are films and Polaroids. Film cameras are already becoming popular, and Polaroids too, but I think we will continue to see these to the point where it might even be people taking snapshots of their Polaroids and sharing them, something that I personally have done. I like Polaroids.
Yeah, because I think that we do somewhat get tired of everything being so fake. An example of that is social media got so fake. Think of peak Instagram when every single picture was so overposed and fake that models were admitting they were getting dressed up, pretending to go out, and then just walking, going back in the house and going home. They weren't really living the life they were saying they were living. The next generation came along and they're using, Be Real? Where you take a picture without any filters. It takes a picture from the front and back of your phone so people see what you actually look like and where you actually are. And there's this street cred you get from that authenticity because everything's so fake. So maybe people will get tired of the fakeness of AI and crave something more genuine again.
Absolutely, yeah. There is no way that AI can displace real images because we have actual intelligence. We will immediately become suspicious of all images as being too perfect. And we as a society will push back. We will want something genuine.
But I do think that it is going to have a pretty strong foothold. I don't think photography is going away, but I don't think AI is going away either.
But I think it'll be 5 years out.
All right,
because we got to make it to that plateau.
We got to make it to the plateau. We want to hear your opinion. Do you think it's completely wiping out photography? Do you think it's just going to be hyped up and then go away forever, or end up used by some segment of the of the population. We want to hear your opinions, your thoughts, your ideas, and even your experiences using it. Did you like it? Was it fun? Was it boring? Were you too impatient to wait for things to render? I'd like to hear it.
I'm not a fan of artificial intelligence. I'm a fan of real intelligence, like the designers
Like
at
me.
Squarespace who create beautiful templates that work well. Human beings. Human beings there to help you in case you do run into any problems setting up your own website. You can get started right now at squarespace.com/Chelsea. That'll get you a free trial. Use it for your photos, your video, or whatever type of business you have, because they have all the features to take appointments and sell prints or anything you can imagine. When you love it, after the free trial, use the coupon code Chelsea and you'll get 10% off. Thanks, Squarespace.